While Libya might have been fast to shake off 40 years of Colonel Gaddafi's legacy, his children are demanding justice. Next, the lawyer of the late leader's daughter explains to RT why the death still hasn't been investigated.
The daughter of former Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi has hired an Israeli lawyer to force the International Criminal Court to investigate the full circumstances of her father's death. Advocate Nick Kaufman, thank you very much for joining us here on RT. Why have you agreed to take on the case of Aisha Gaddafi?
Well, Aisha has a legitimate complaint. Her father was murdered in a brutal fashion. The whole world saw it. The prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has an obligation to investigate all aspects of the conflict which was referred to him by the United Nations Security Council. And that would include also the murder of Muammar Gaddafi, especially since the prosecutor himself has stated that there are grounds to believe that this was a war crime.
Where does the case stand at the moment?
Well, at the moment I've written to the prosecutor. I've asked him whether or not he intends on investigating it. I received a reply. The reply was essentially that we're going to see what the Libyan authorities do about it. We'll give them about 5 months, and by the time I make my next report to the Security Council, we'll see what they've done. My view is that that's in fact leaving it too late. This is not the sort of investigation which can be put off for 5 months. It's a complex investigation. There is a need to examine the crime scene, to perform forensic and ballistic analysis, to take evidence from objective witnesses. All these sort of things have to be done now. It's not the sort of investigation that you can put off just for 5 months and see what happens.
Is there any way that you can speed up the investigation?
Well, I can keep on writing and pestering, as it were, the prosecutor, and see how far that gets me. Aisha herself has also made an application for victim's status in the situation. In certain situations, that can actually give her procedural rights. I'll be examining whether or not, from a legal point of view, that will allow her to petition the court in order to speed up the investigative process.
Why is the International Criminal Court so reluctant to speed up the investigation?
Well, the general rule at the ICC is what's called the rule of complementarity. That means that domestic state authorities, if they are capable of performing an investigation, should be left to do so.
In the present instance, we don't believe that the Libyan authorities, as they stand at present, either have the will or the capacity to carry out such an investigation.
And that's why we're calling for the investigation to be conducted immediately.
The International Criminal Court issued a warrant to persecute Gaddafi in June of last year, and then in October he was killed. Shouldn't the ICC be willing to learn what happened to the suspect of its own investigation, despite what the Libyan government says and does?
Well, it's an obligation on the Office of the Prosecutor to investigate all aspects of the conflict. At the present moment in time, no one from the Libyan authorities has put forward a concrete plan for bringing, let's say, for example, Saif al-Islam to justice and prosecuting him under the rule of law. Given that that's in fact the case, I would have thought that the obligation rests with the Office of the Prosecutor to ensure that the Libyan affair, as I may call it, is investigated and conducted and prosecuted before the International Criminal Court.
From your experience, what can the International Criminal Court do if it was willing?
Well, don't forget that, first of all, I'm in the hands of the prosecutor at this present moment in time. Once Aisha should get victim status before the court in the situation, in the Libyan situation, that of course is subject to the decision of the judges, then I will examine whether or not there are legal grounds for requesting the judges to intervene and to expedite the investigative process.
What is your interaction with Aisha, and how is she doing?
Well, I have a daily interaction with her. Her situation is not simple. She is currently under some form of a restriction on her freedom of association. On the other hand, she is grateful to the Algerian authorities for offering her some form of humanitarian protection. She's severely traumatized by the murder of her father and of her brother, I must add, Muammar. two brutal murders which were witnessed by the whole world on various video clips.
She's with her mother and two brothers. Any sense of how they're all faring?
Well, I am in contact with at least one other member of the family. As I said, it's not easy for them. On the one hand, they are grateful for the humanitarian protection which has been offered them by the Algerian authorities. But on the other hand, they are guests in the country by force of circumstance. They don't have complete freedom of association, complete freedom of movement. So the situation is complex.
What are her plans? Is she seeking asylum anywhere else?
I can't comment on that at the present moment in time.
Is she following what's happening with her brother Saif al-Islam?
Of course she is, and it seriously concerns her. She regrets the fact that Saif al-Islam hasn't been afforded legal representation at this moment in time, and she hopes that it will happen in the very near future.
Do you think that Saif al-Islam will get a fair trial in Libya?
Once again, it's a very sensitive issue. There is nothing at the present moment in time to make me believe that a fair and effective trial can be conducted in Libya. I base that on the fact that the Libyan authorities were ordered by the International Criminal Court to file a response to the pre-trial chamber handling the matter of Saif al-Islam by the 10th of January. Information concerning Saif al-Islam's status and what the Libyan authorities' intentions are with respect to him. The Libyan authorities requested a postponement for filing that response, citing security concerns. Well, my belief is that if the security concerns are so serious that they prevent the Libyan authorities from filing a response to a court order, then the necessary conclusion that I have to draw is that the same security considerations would prevent a fair and effective trial. In other words, the Libyan authorities should be ensuring that Saif al-Islam is handed over to The Hague in accordance with the arrest warrant.
Could the fact that the whole investigation is taking so long be a red herring to let Gaddafi's murderers get away with it?
Well, the only person who has been seized of my request for an immediate investigation at this moment in time is the prosecutor. Your question implies or even imputes a certain amount of bad faith on the part of the office of the prosecutor. You said that, I didn't. I can't impute it on the evidence which I have available to me at the present moment in time. I have to assume that the prosecutor is acting in the best interests of his office and also of his investigation and his mandate. The fact that I don't agree with that is another matter.
What really needs to be done to establish the truth, and can it be established at all?
Of course the truth can be established, and if the office of the prosecutor was sufficiently serious, it would have initiated an immediate investigation, especially bearing in mind that the prosecutor has gone on the record and stated that this was in fact a potential war crime. We shouldn't be sitting here today and talking about why is an investigation not taking place. It should have started a few days after the murder itself. Even less, on the very same day.
What does it really take to investigate a crime like this?
Well, this is a complex investigation. It's a crime of murder. It's a crime which the investigators and the office of the prosecutor are fully qualified to investigate. Let us not forget that the office of the prosecutor contains the best investigators in the world. They have the choice of the best investigators in the world. And so, as I previously stated, it would involve a forensic analysis of the crime scene. It would also involve a ballistic analysis of the crime scene. It would involve taking detailed statements from objective and independent witnesses. It would also involve, for example, a proper autopsy of Muammar Gaddafi himself and of Muammar Gaddafi. Now, one question I do have is why, right after the murder, the office of the prosecutor didn't volunteer one of its own forensic pathologists, at least to assist in the performance of the autopsy. Well, that didn't happen. But as I said, it's a complex investigation, but by no means it's not an investigation that the office of the prosecutor itself couldn't have carried out immediately.
Nick Kaufman, thank you very much for talking to us here on RT.
You're welcome.